Cheap sunglasses from ZZ Top. Appropriate for the episode 246, the week before summer starts. But Dylan, summer has already started for a couple of days. What are you talking about? Well, what I'm talking about is last weekend I was going to try to do an episode. Didn't happen. I'll talk about why it didn't. So I figured I'm going to do something that I've never done before, which is the first double episode in the history of Dylan Knows. And I have 2 viewers, so that's actually perfect because double episode, double Dylan, double whatever. So we'll be starting with episode 246, which is stuff that is from June 16th and 17th, weekend of June 16th and 17th. And then we'll switch over to the 247th, which is stuff from this week. So a lot of interesting stuff going on. But the main reasons why I didn't have an episode last week was because on Saturday the 16th, my sister and her husband and her in-laws, her mom and her father-in-law, mother-in-law. Her father-in-law, mother-in-law are celebrating their 50th anniversary, wedding anniversary. So they want to have this big party. My sister and brother-in-law are celebrating their 25th. Yes, their 25th anniversary. And my brother-in-law's sister and her husband are celebrating their 15th. Dawn and I are celebrating our 15th, but I had to go with my mom, which is fine because I love my mother and she needed to ride down there. It was in Virginia. Dawn had to stay with the kids because the kids would have been bored to tears at this place. So they went and they did the Pokemon Go Community Day, and they had a good time with that. And then when we got back, my mom spent the night. So she got to see her grandkids for a little bit. And then it was Father's Day the next day. My in-laws, my father-in-law and mother-in-law, came up to visit us and spent a few hours with us. And then after that, we went to the pool. So really couldn't fit an episode in anywhere there. And Friday, the 15th, I couldn't have done because that was the beginning. That was the last day of school for the kids. And it was the beginning of our Reisterstown Music on Main Street, which is an event that happens every year. From every Friday, from beginning of summer to the end of summer, a band plays on the middle school grounds in the evening, 7 o'clock. They have food trucks and all ages invited, ice cream trucks, stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun. So got a lot of stuff to get over. And if I'm going to do this, we got to get moving. So stuff from this week is stuff, as I said, it's a couple of weeks old now, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. The Dumbo trailer came out this 2 weeks ago. That was the one that Tim Burton's going to be doing. It's coming out in March. And I've not been a huge fan of remaking Disney animation films into live action. They did it with Jungle Book. They did it. What was the other one? They did Beauty and the Beast. And then they're doing Mulan, which is coming up soon also. But Dumbo looked good because, first of all, it's Tim Burton, who is one of my favorite directors, even though he's had sort of a rough period over the last few years. And it also is going to bring about his return to working with Michael Keaton, who I love. So Michael Keaton's in the new Dumbo movie. Danny DeVito is in the Michael Keaton movie, or in the Dumbo movie. Ava Green, who Tim Burton's been working on the last couple movies, is in it as well. And Colin Farrell's the other one who's been in it also. So it looks good, and it's weird. It's kind of a weird amalgamation of. It looks like, from what I gather from the teaser, it might be a sequel to Dumbo, but at the same time, it might be a retelling of the story. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe there's going to be some flashbacks involved. But from what I've read, it's supposed to be not necessarily a remake of the cartoon, but more of a continuation. But there was a lot of stuff that was like they just found Dumbo, so maybe they're going to be doing flashbacks and stuff like that. So I don't know about that. And then this one caught me by surprise. This movie trailer caught me by surprise. I didn't know this was even coming out. A modern take on Little Women. I forget who's the star of that one. I forget who the star of that one is. But it's the woman who plays Marmee is a famous actress. At the top of my head, I can't think of who it is right now. And then the girls are played by, I think, Saoirse Ronan is whatever her name is. I think is playing the main Joe character, and then there's a few others as well. I'm sure it'll come to me eventually, but I saw that, and Little Women's always been a really interesting story, and actually would be probably beneficial for a modern retelling, because you can take the story about 4 sisters, who are trying to find their way in the world while their father's off at war, and trying to, continue to be their the people that they are and add it to a modern day event. And that's exactly what they did. And that is, it looks good. So I saw the trailer. Does initially mean I'm going to see it? Maybe, maybe not. Depends. My daughter might want to see it, but it actually an interesting take on modern day Little Women. Looks pretty interesting to me, and I think it's a good idea. David Lynch, who most of you, if you've been following me, know is one of my favorite directors of all time. Twin Peaks, one of my favorite shows, and I loved Lost Highway and Mulholland Drive and a few other things as well he's done. He's launching a clothing store on Amazon to sell his T-shirts. So I may have to check that out. It's of his art because David Lynch is an artist and he makes T-shirts of his art, and that might be an interesting thing to look at. See how much it costs and see if they have it in my size, and then maybe buy one and maybe wear it on the show sometime. Maybe when I talk about Twin Peaks Season 3 eventually. Hopefully sometime this year. I don't know when that's going to happen because right now they're in the middle of a lot of people are in the middle of the rewatch of the season. It started back in mid-May. So they're probably about, let me see, they're probably about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're probably about 6 or 7 episodes in. So this is a ways to go because it ended on Labor Day. So they've got the whole summer to watch it. So we'll see. Maybe I'll fit something in there as well. There's also the Grinch trailer, which I forgot to mention with the other trailers. That's the remake done by Illumination, which is the company that does Despicable Me and all those types of movies. The Lorax was the last one they did. So they have like a Dr. Seuss connection, and Sing was another one that they did. And the one about the pets. Anyway, this is a remake of The Grinch again, extending the Grinch story into a movie length again, but this time not as a live action film, as an animated film with different types of stuff going on. So you're going to get a different take on what makes the Grinch the Grinch. He's voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch. The dog is a little bit more involved in it, and it looks like there's going to be a lot more craziness and modern day type of stuff because the dog like swoops in on a flying satellite thing and takes pictures of the town, and then he steals Christmas and all this wild crazy stuff. So that's coming out in November. Here's the thing, and I've talked about this before. The original Grinch is the original Grinch. It's perfect. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. The live action movie, when I first saw it, I hated it. But I forced myself to watch it again around Christmas time, I guess. I don't know why. I guess I still think, even though I hated it, I like the visualness of it because Ron Howard really brought the world to life. And yes, Jim Carrey totally chewed the scenery, and the backstory really wasn't necessary, and there was just some other... It wasn't supposed to work, but... To me, on a rewatching it over and over again, I began to really, really, really like it. And I've gone so far as I emulate Jim Carrey's Grinch voice when around Christmas time the kids want me to read the Grinch to them before they go to bed. Well, at least my son does. My daughter might be too old for that right now. But I think Christmas Eve I always read them stories anyway. So I do my Grinch voice. It's so satisfying to do this show. It's wonderful. I love Dylan Knows. I don't like the Who's. The Who's down in Whoville are terrible. So, and then when I did my Christmas storybook show, which you probably all missed last Christmas, was my special episode that I did where I read nothing but Christmas stories to you, so you could show it to your kids before they go to bed on Christmas. But no one did. It's all right. You hear the voice there when I read the Grinch out loud to everybody like that. So we'll see what happens. Will the kids want to see it? Probably. Would it be bad to see? Nah, not really. We're going to go see The Incredibles 2 tomorrow. We were going to go see it today. But when we got there was all kinds of problems with the line and stuff like that. I don't know, something was going on. And they redid the ticket booths and stuff like that. So we went and we got automatic tickets, and they didn't have enough seats for the shows we wanted to do. So it was like, okay, why don't we just come back and do advanced tickets for tomorrow, Sunday. So we're going to see it on Sunday. I don't know. I just thought of that off the top of my head. Oh, good. Patrick Smith, my buddy, is watching. Leah Thompson. Thank you, Patrick. Yes, I love Leah Thompson. I think Leah Thompson might make an appearance in the next episode of Dylan Knows coming up, not literally, but a discussion point about her might be coming up really soon. Patrick loved the trailer for Dumbo, and it was Leah Thompson in Little Women. Thank you, my good friend. So that was that. So next up we have World Naked Bike Ride. Yeah, that was a couple weeks ago. biking Americans ride nude. What is this? Oh, to make a statement that they feel that they are invisible when they're on the roads with cars passing them or not seeing them or whatever when they're sharing the road with cars. So in order to, I guess, emphasize that point, there was a world naked biking ride somewhere in probably California, and did that just to bring awareness to that. My friend Gary, he rides bikes, and I've seen him a couple times on the roads just by accident, really, because he goes out really early in the morning. But we have lots of bike riders up here where I am because it's a wonderful area where I'm basically in farm country for the most part. And we're in a valley, so we've got some hills and some nice trees. Fall particularly is fantastic. I love fall. Fall is great when you get the colors so perfectly. Oranges and reds and yellows is fantastic. And we have lots of farms, so there's going to be lots of corn and horses and cows and hay. There are times you'd be driving down the road, there'd be giant bales of hay, big as a house. That's pretty crazy to see. So it's and it's also kind of hilly and curvy, and it goes up and down hills, stuff like that. So it's good for bike riders because you get the up and down hills and you get the curves, stuff like that. But yes, the main road in through this area is 2 lanes, one going this way and one coming this way. So one going that way and one going this way. So it's 2 lanes, so you have to just be aware. And the shoulder's very small, so you're always going to have to sort of bend out to the other lane and then go around, stuff like that. But always be aware of bike riders around you. We actually had a bike rider get struck and killed by a drunk driver a couple years ago down the road, actually closer to where my mom lives, where I grew up. So that was kind of a sad thing that happened. California splitting into 3 states. I know this is an old story. The memorandum is going to be on the ballot in California in November. I think it's Los Angeles and its surrounding area is going to be 1 state. I think San Francisco is the other one, which is going to have a bigger portion of California. And then they didn't say San Diego, but generally it's going to be Southern California will be one also. So they're going to see if they can split up California into 3 states, because right now, and I talked about this on my show a couple weeks ago, California has the 3rd or the 5th biggest economy in the world, even bigger than some countries. And now I've seen both sides. One side is complaining that it's going to create more Democratic votes. I guess that's the Republican conservatives are the ones that bring that up, that it's going to give the California from being 1 state to 3 states, and California is, for the most part, Democratic, more Democrat power. But then the Democrats are like, well, no, it could also give the Republicans more power also, blah, blah, blah. So we'll see what happens. It's in November. That's when the memorandum comes in, so we'll see what happens there. It's an interesting idea, but I don't quite know if it's going to succeed. We'll see. Wonder Woman 2 comes out next year around this time, probably. Actually, it'll probably be earlier in the summer, June or early June or in May. It's going to be Wonder Woman 84, so it's going to take place in 1984. And they've shown just some pictures, no trailer yet. They've just shown some pictures of it. There's a gorgeous shot of Gal Gadot in full Wonder Woman armor in front of a bank of TVs, which is absolutely stunning. She still looks stunning. There's another one with her in shadow in front of a bank of TVs. And then here's the big one. Spoiler alert. There's a picture of Chris Pine as Steve Trevor. Now, for those who saw the original Wonder Woman, spoiler alert, you know that Chris Pine, Steve Trevor, apparently died at the end of Wonder Woman when he sacrificed himself to save the world in an exploding plane. So now people are wondering, how, what? And they actually, that's the thing, is they showed a picture. It was one of the early pictures that they released was of Chris Pine, Steve Trevor. So I guess it's not really a spoiler because the picture's out there. But here's the thing, everybody's like, well, how did he survive? I'm going to tell you how he survived. This is my opinion. So Dylan knows, and I can almost, it almost seems totally perfect that this is what it could be. I could be absolutely wrong, and I would be a mea culpa. You know, I do mea culpas all the time, but I think this is probably, if you want to explain how he survived, this is how it is. So flashback to when you watched Wonder Woman. Early on, after Chris Pine's plane crashed and Wonder Woman saved him and the Germans invaded Paradise Island and all the Amazons kicked their asses, and then they had Chris Pine be jailed in a bedroom type of thing with a bath and stuff like that, and Wonder Woman went in and interrogated him to find out more about him. The interrogation scene is rife with sexual chemistry and innuendo because Chris Pine, who is a handsome young man, by the way, is in a bath, naked. And they have a little bit of back and forth about sex and nudity and stuff like that. Not as prevalent as when they're on the boat, where they have another discussion about sex, and then they have sex literally later on in the movie. But in this case, he's in this bath water. Now, here's the thing. They really focused on the bathwater, and they actually had a conversation about it because the bathwater is all glowy and stuff like that. And Chris Pine's like, "What is this? This is lovely." And she's like saying the waters of the Themyscira or something like that to revive you or whatever. But they focused on it for just a little bit of a section of dialogue, as if it's like, you got to remember this because something's going to happen later on that this might come back into play. What I think is because the Amazons, for the most part, look like they haven't aged at all. And you could say that that's because of where they are in Themyscira, and the gods are shining down on them, make sure they don't age, whatever. With a good earthquake, California will fall off the face of the earth. That's right, Patrick, that probably will. Then we'd lose 3 states instead of 1. That's a horrible thing to say. Anyway, so getting back to that, I believe that the waters of Themyscira are almost like immortal waters. What's the word? It's the fountain of youth almost. That these waters create this immortality for the Amazons, because they obviously were probably bathed in it as well. Bathing Amazons. Wake up. So he was bathing in that. So is it just maybe one bath in this enchanted water which gives you immortality? It's very possible they could, because they're going to keep bathing in it, so it's just going to sort of keep emphasizing it, whatever. So I think that's what happened. I think what happened was this water he was bathing in is like this fountain of youth or fountain of immortality, whatever you want to call it, holy grail water, whatever you want to call it, which gives them immortality, whoever bathes in it. And I think they put Chris Pine in it as Steve Trevor, and maybe Wonder Woman didn't really think about it because she thought he was human. Why? It probably wouldn't affect him because he's not from Paradise Island, so it might not affect him. Maybe that's why she or maybe she didn't even know that that's why it is. Maybe it's always been that way, that there's always been Amazons and they always seem to be around and they never seem to age. So he gets in the plane, he flies away, it blows up. I'm thinking he could be blown up, could be like almost like Wolverine, shredded and bits and pieces everywhere, whatever. And then he falls from the sky, boom, lands on the ground. But because he's immortal, he either regrows the body parts or they suck back into it, or maybe, I don't know. I can't explain. I don't know that aspect of it. And because he didn't want to, I guess, worry Diana, or he wasn't fully recovered until way later when they were done, and he didn't want to go back and say, hey, I'm still alive. He went around and did exploratory stuff around the world, did his spy thing to help keep the world safe, and then something comes up in '84 where he's got to make an appearance again, and maybe that'll all come out. So we'll see what happens about that. So that's my theory. Bathing Amazons, great band name. Yes, it is. Bathing Amazons. Anywho, enough of that. I'm done with that. Oreo has the new peanut butter pie Oreo cookies out now. I bought them a bunch of times. They're actually really, really good. It's the chocolate and peanut butter flavored cream in the middle and a graham cracker around it. It's actually very tasty and highly recommended. They also had the firework Oreos out again now through 4th of July. That's a good point too. Scott Troutman said maybe the explosion blew him through a wormhole in 1984. That's a possibility too. That's one that went through my head as well. So who knows? We'll find out next year around this time. We would have known by this time, since it's going to come out probably early June or late May or maybe even early May. No, it's not going to go up against Avengers. So, so that's good about that. So the firework Oreos are out for 4th of July. Those are the ones that the white Oreo cream has the Pop Rocks candy in it. So when you put it in your mouth and you bite into it and you're eating the cream, you get the poppy candies in your mouth. So it's like explosions, fireworks for 4th of July. 4th of July is only 2 weeks away. Actually, less than that, actually. I mean, what is it? Today is, what is it, 24th. Today's the 24th. So 10 days. So there you go. 10 days to 4th of July, which is the next day off from work until Labor Day in September. Well, my vacation days off I take, but one where I don't have to take a vacation day. So that's good on that. So that's good. Since I've got Patrick and Scott on, and you're the only ones watching right now, and maybe eventually maybe some other Snark Alex will be watching here, let's give you a Snark stock update. You probably, Patrick, I probably need to get you onto the chat about this. I got Scott on. I should probably get you on, Patrick. So forgive me for not getting you on. I'll do that a little later after the show. But this is basically, we had our first meeting for Snark Stock 2018. It's going to be on October 20th, 2021. October 20th is a Saturday. 21st is the Sunday. So it's going to be a all-day Saturday thing and then into the evening. And then you can stay at a hotel, or if you want to leave, you can leave also. It's up to you. I highly recommend hotel because we're doing lots of cool stuff. So we had our first planning meeting, and we need to get a head count. So if either of you guys are interested in coming to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, October 20th, you can come down on the 19th and maybe crash at our house if you want to. We're going to open up our house to anybody from out of state coming in, and then we'll drive you, because we're 45 minutes away from Gettysburg from here. We will drive you up there, and we're probably going to get a hotel up there and spend the night up there. So what the basic thing we're going to be doing is Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. We're going to do, in the morning, we're going to do a battlefield tour of some kind. We threw out a couple ideas. There's a Segway one, a horseback riding one, a carriage one, a walking one, a one with a professional guide. So we have those. After that, we are going to, in the midday, we will be going to a distillery brewery in Gettysburg. And so it has both a brewery and a distillery in it. So we'll be tasting the different alcohols there. And then they have a restaurant there that we'll have lunch at. I saw the menu. The menu it's small, but it's very affordable. And I think someone's going to be able to find something to eat there. They've got enough stuff for everybody, I think, to eat. But then it's the distillery and brewery. If we have time, there's also a wine tasting bar, winery type of place in Gettysburg as well, which we could swing by there. It's also a cider place. So it's winery cider place. And cider's perfect in fall. October 20th is fall. So you can sample that. And then after that, I haven't found a place for dinner yet. There was a couple of places I looked up on Friday. So we'll have dinner there. And then in the evening, we're going to do a ghost tour of some kind. Now, the ones we want to do are ones where we actually get hands-on experience. You go in with equipment and you do a 2-hour, 3-hour session of ghost hunting. That's what I want to do. Now, it all depends on price. And that's why I need to know how many people we're going to get. You have until July 13th to let us know if you are going to be able to make it. You can bring loved ones, friends if you want. So the more the merrier, obviously. So we'll do one of that, and then after that, we can stay at one of the myriad of haunted hotels they have up in Gettysburg, which doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be old or whatever. They say basically because there's like a Holiday Inn up there, which has activity. And even though, yeah, think fourth dimensionally, even though the Holiday Inn wasn't there in 1861, 1862, I think it was 1862 is when Gettysburg was. 1861 was when the war started, I believe. The battlefield was there. and it built it on the battlefield. And I think the Holiday Inn that is haunted used to be a medical tent area. So obviously you're going to get some activity there. So that's one. There's lots of hotels up there. We'll look for affordable ones. Again, the most important thing is we need to know who's interested. That way we can get the pricing down. Now, again, if you're interested, just let us know. You don't have to say, oh yeah, we're going to come. Yeah, check us in. Say, we're interested in coming. So then we'll get a list of how many people are interested in coming. So if we get say 20 people or 30 people, we can go to these places and say, how much is a tour going to be for 20 people? How much is dinner going to be, you think, for $20? No, for 20 people. How much is a bank of hotel rooms for 20 people? Blah, 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 like that. Then we can add all that together and we can say, okay, it's probably going to cost this much to do all these activities. If it's too high for you, you can say, yeah, I don't know if I want to do it. And that's fine, because we've got time to fix on that, because we want you to have fun and be able to afford it at the same time. So that's what we got the plan. So if you guys want to come, as I said, you can bring significant others, friends, whatever. Just let us know by July 13th if you're interested, 1-2 people interested on coming, whatever. That way we can get a tentative list and get and get some pricing down and see what we need to do to cut down on things. Now, if we get too many people cutting down, stuff like that, we might have to pare down what we're actually doing, obviously, or do cheaper things. So there's plenty of stuff to do in Gettysburg. This is just the general gist of what I want to do. I want to do a battleground tour, a winery, distillery, brewery tour, and a ghost hunt. Those are the big things. Dinner, obviously, and their ghost hunt, and stay at a haunted hotel. That's what my plan is. So there's that. June 16th. Yeah, it was June 16th. June 16th was Community Day for Pokemon Go players. It was Larvitar, which is one of the big ones that everybody likes to get, because Tyranitar, who he evolves into, is a beast when it comes to raiding. So my wife actually, since I was at my sister's in-laws party, I couldn't play. So my wife took my account and played for me. I got 2 shinies, which are special Pokemon that are different colors, stuff like that. And then I was able to get the special move for Tyranitar that they do for Community Day only. So that's good. There's also going to be trading coming soon to Pokemon Go. Come back to my next episode to get an update on that. Don't know why I was winking in a second. Oh, good. I think you should be there too, Patrick. Again, we're going to open up our house if you want to come stay. If you want to come up on a Friday, you can come up to BWI if you're flying in, BWI. I can pick you up and bring you to the house. Or if you want to drive in, absolutely, you can stay here at the house, whatever you want to do. So I will put you, actually, you know what? No, I got you here. You know what? Screw waiting. Let me get to the Snarkstock 2018, and then let me add people. Add members. Patrick Smith added. You are now added to the chat, Patrick. So you should be able to see. You should be able to see our discussions now, since I added you to the chat. So you'll be able to see all the stuff we're talking about. So I will put you down as a tentative 2. Right here, actually. Patrick +1 to Snarkstock. That'd be awesome, dude, because it's going to be a blast. We've already got confirmed Kelly Toole's going to be there, Mike Belinsky, me and Dawn, Myrna, possibly Jerry is going to be there. I think Victoria, who's done it a few times, is going to be there as well. I'm trying to get Tony in, but he's been a little bit of a stickler, so we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, enough of that. You know how I love raccoons. I love this story. This is from 2 weeks ago. Oh, there's 2 raccoon stories, actually. So we'll do both of them. Remember, 2 weeks ago, the world was eyeing the raccoon that climbed the building in Minnesota. So it was a story that lasted a couple of days. He climbed an actual building, and they were filming him and stuff like that. He made it to the top. I guess he's okay now. So that was kind of a big story, interesting story like that. But the one story I want to tell you guys about is, all right, drunk man who has one of those breathalyzer interlock systems, which, you know, he got busted for drunk driving, and they sentenced him to have this interlock system. For those who don't know, I had a friend of mine who, literally, it was a friend of mine. It wasn't me, guys. Come on, seriously. Do I look like a drunk driver? No, I'm not a drunk driver. I may be insane, but I'm not a drunk driver. I had a friend that I used to work with. He got busted for drunk driving, and he had an interlock system. He had to keep it on for a year, I think. And basically what he has to do is, before he can start his car, he has to do a breathalyzer test. And the breathalyzer test is connected to the starter. So if there's any hint of alcohol, that car ain't going to start for him. But if he's clean, it'll start for him. So it's no problem. So if you're not drinking, you go in, it'll start. You turn the key, boom, it'll start. You're ready to go. But if you have been drinking, even a slight bit, it'll just go, nah, not going to do it, because you drunk drive before and you broke the law. So there was a drunk guy who had one of these breathalyzer interlock systems, who was drunk and he wanted to get home, but he knew he couldn't use the breathalyzer. So being drunk, he noticed a raccoon going through the trash. He grabbed the raccoon, stuffed the raccoon's mouth over the interlock system to make it breathe through it. It started the car, and the raccoon passed out, and he tossed the raccoon under like the passenger side seat in his car, got in his car and started driving away. Now, while he's driving, the raccoon wakes up and attacks him. I would too. Freaking, you grab me from digging through food, force my mouth over this tube, get me knocked unconscious for a little bit. I'm going to be pissed at you. I'm going to take your eyes out, and attack the guy, which caused an accident. The raccoon survived, he ran away, and the guy, I think, is now in prison or something like that because of that. So how did you get a raccoon to do that? That's what I want to know. You must be really drunk, man. You had no fear. It's like, yeah, I'm going to get this raccoon and just stuff his mouth in there. You don't know if it's rabbit or not. I guess you don't really care much, did you? World Cup is going on right now. Go Iceland. They tied one, they lost one, so they're probably not going to win, but it doesn't matter. I'm cheering for Iceland because I really don't have a horse in the race, and I don't really follow soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. But this is like Iceland's first time in the World Cup, so I figured, why not? Underdogs are great. They tied their first game, which was great, but then they lost their second one, so we'll see what happens. It's coming to America in 2026, so we've got 10, 9, 8 years. 8 years until the next one. So I guess there's going to be one more World Cup. Is it every 4 years? And then the next one will be here in America. So good on those who like the World Cup. Baltimore, Washington area is in the running to host some of the games. Now, we've done some World Cup, maybe not semifinal. We've done some World Cup stuff before at our stadiums, the football stadium where the Ravens play, down in D.C., the Redskins football stadium. They did some stuff as well. And we've had the MLS, and we've had Madrid here before, and all that stuff. So we've actually had, and we actually get a good crowd to come to it. So we can show the World Cup people, hey, look, we've got the attendance. Hey, why don't you have some games here? We'll sell this place out. So that'll be interesting if we can get some World Cup games here in the Baltimore, Washington area in around 2026. Yeah, I know it's 8 years away, but still, it's still interesting to think about. Dippin' Dots cereal. Now, do you know what Dippin' Dots is? Actually, let's see what Patrick say. Raccoons. I love raccoons. Yay! So do I. Thanks, Patrick. What is that you posted? Let's see this picture. I said open, not close. There we go. There you go. Video of raccoon. I haven't seen our raccoon. We have a raccoon that tries to steal our trash. He's going for the cat food or something. That's funny. So Dippin' Dots. If you don't know what Dippin' Dots are ice cream, but they're dots. They're a little bit of dots. They used to be called like space ice cream, but now they call it Dippin' Dots. You can get them at like the mall. the zoo. My kids get them at the zoo all the time. There's some other Dippin' Dots places around, and you can now actually get them at the grocery store now. They've got little containers of Dippin' Dots, one-off containers. You eat the whole thing, stuff like that. But it's ice cream in these little Dippin' Dot things. Now they have Dippin' Dot cereal, and I don't know. So I haven't seen it in our store yet, so I don't know. Going from raccoons to squirrels. I like squirrels also. I made a movie about squirrels in college with two of my friends, Patrick Gibbs and Eric Magnuson. Check it out on YouTube. Type in Albright College Squirrels. ALBRIGHTCOLLEGESQUIRRELS. Albright College Squirrels. And it should pop up, be one of the first ones. It's 6 minutes of pure insanity that I did when I was 93. 25. No. It was 25 years ago, you dummy. So I was 20 years old. I'm a moron. So it was fun. So there's video of a squirrel stealing peanut M&Ms from a concession stand in Disney World. Kind of funny. I like squirrels also. So good on squirrels on that. My daughter Noelle graduated from 5th grade on the 14th of June. She'll be going to middle school. Very proud of her. She won an award that we weren't expecting her to receive for her grades, which is great. She had really good grades, and that's wonderful. They had a slideshow of all their memories. Some were pictures taken from the yearbooks, pictures brought in by parents, and they made sure that all the kids were spotlighted at one point or another. There was one picture that was in the yearbook, so it was also in the yearbook, and they put it in here as well with a group of girls. Not my daughter, maybe some friends of hers, I don't know, but it was at a PTA event, and I happened to photobomb it by accident behind it, but I'm in the slideshow in perpetuity, so that's kind of cool. I was going to talk about my memories of elementary school, but that will have to wait because I'm running against the clock here, people. Hasn't been a full hour yet. I'm going to try to get this episode to last about an hour, and then the second episode to be an hour so that it's not too long. I still got a little ways to go, so it might be a little longer. That it might be an hour and a half for this one and a half hour for the other one, because I don't have as much stuff for this week as I do for last 2 weeks. The Chris Hardwick story broke 2 weeks ago. You probably all know the story by now. An ex-girlfriend who did not mention him by name in in a story about her being mentally abused by him, but didn't mention him by name. But everybody in the know knows that they were dating. So that was sort of a firestorm. Chris Hardwick has lost his jobs, and we'll see what goes on from there. And it's sort of smoothed out a little bit since then. I haven't heard much about it here anyway. It's probably a bigger story out in California, which is where this event is taking place. I'm not going to. I would have gotten into this more last week when it was still fresh, but I'm not going to talk about it anymore because it's really not a story anymore because of everything else that seems to be going on in the world right now. Lucifer is continuing the trend of TV shows that were canceled by the networks getting picked up by either another network or a streaming service. In this case, Lucifer is being picked up by Netflix. So Netflix will be bankrolling Lucifer season 4, which to me probably means this will be the last one. They'll give it one last season to sort of wrap up all the storylines. Or if it does well enough, maybe they'll continue it on. Netflix is continuing to control the world, and that leads me to my next story. Will Smith did it. He made a movie that debuted on Netflix. It was called Bright. The premise was good, though. From what I heard, the movie's not that good. Basically, in a world where fantasy creatures and humans live not necessarily in harmony, but together in the same world. Will Smith is the human police officer, and his partner is an orc or something like that, who is one of the ones that is discriminated against most in this world. And there's a whole story with the wizards and stuff like that. I didn't see it. I just saw the everything wrong with, so I know the general idea of it. But there's a lot of other movies and documentaries and TV shows that Netflix just keeps putting out there, and they're getting awards and they're getting notice and stuff like that. So Netflix is now becoming a major player in the industry, and one of their next upcoming movies probably coming out maybe later this year or early next year. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe they're going to try to get it done and out by the end of the year so it can go for Oscar nominations, because you can do that if you release it, I guess, in a theater like California and New York, as well as, aired on Netflix, whatever. You can get it in for Academy nomination awards. Eddie Murphy is going to be making a comeback in a movie called The Dolomite. I wrote it down somewhere. Dolomite Is My Name. And I just read a brief synopsis of it. It's basically going to be about a blaxploitation actor from the 1970s, like sort of his life story. It's written by the guys who wrote Ed Wood and People versus Larry Flint. And there's one other movie that they wrote that's sort of a biopic thing that they've done. And so Eddie Murphy's going to be playing the role of that blaxploitation actor. Now, they just announced 2 weeks ago that Wesley Snipes will be joining him. So there's another actor who's been trying to make a comeback as well in all this, and he is going to be in it as well. Oops. So I don't think Eddie and Wesley have ever worked together, so that should be pretty interesting to see that, the two of them together. Speaking of people who want to see each other, Natalie Portman wants to meet Mark Hamill. This all started when Mark Hamill made a tweet about saying, "I've never met this woman." And it was a picture of Natalie Portman, who played Padme Amidala, who is the mother of Mark Hamill's character, Luke Skywalker. So Mark Hamill has never met his mom, and Natalie Portman has never met her son, and she wants to. So they're probably going to set something up eventually, and it's going to be cute pictures, and everything's going to be lovely. I don't even know if she's met Carrie Fisher or was able to meet Carrie Fisher before she passed away. I'm not 100% certain if she did or not. That would have been, if I can see if I can dig that up, see if I can find a Natalie Portman, Carrie Fisher picture. That'd be kind of interesting. Comcast is outbidding Disney for Fox. More to this story coming up soon. But that was a story 2 weeks ago. We know what happened, but we're not going to talk about that now because this didn't happen until this week, and we'll talk about it this week. So enough of that. IHOP, a couple weeks ago, I said IHOP was changing its name. Hulu won the Emmy for Best Drama, was the first streaming series for The Handmaid's Tale. Okay, thank you very much, Patrick. That actually helps a lot. So yeah, so the streaming services are getting really into the business now and have been winning all kinds of awards and critical acclaim and stuff like that. So good on them. And maybe this will get Eddie in a nomination. Who knows? But getting back to a couple weeks ago, I said IHOP was going to be changing their name to IHOB, I-H-O-B. And I thought, I didn't read the full article when they were talking about it. I thought it was going to be International House of Breakfast because they didn't want to be just known for pancakes. To me, that makes perfect sense. But then I saw this story 2 weeks ago, and it said International House of Burgers. And I was like, that's exactly what we need, is another burger joint. So I'm not going to go to IHOB. I want IHOP back. But I have no say in that, so I have nothing I can do about that. Man convinces his friends to eat tacos filled with the meat from his amputated leg. Yes, I had to do a cannibalism story. That's just gross. People, come on, man. What's the matter with you out there? God, no wonder this world is a mess. Terrible. The Wheel of Time, which is written by Robert Jordan and is on par with, a lot of people say, with the Lord of the Rings stories that Tolkien did, is finally, after so many up and down years of being, we're going to be a TV show, no, we're going to be a movie, we're going to be on this network, we're going to be on this network. Well, it looks like they're finally going to get made through Amazon. So again, streaming services again. I mean, I guess it's in retaliation for, is it Netflix who's doing a Lord of the Rings story, or Hulu is going to be doing the Lord of the Rings TV series, which I think is ridiculous, but that's besides the point. So hopefully, they saw the writing on the wall and said, hey, we need to do our own fantasy one. So they're going to try to do that with that. Forget man caves, backyard bar. Barns are the new trend. I've seen pictures of these. Instead of a man cave in the basement. They build their own bar out in their backyard so they can go and hang out and chill and stuff like that. I've never been a man cave guy anyway. Thank you, Patrick. No hob. At least you're with me. It's International House of Pancakes. We want breakfast, not more burgers. If I want burgers, I'll go to Red Robin. So they can make their own little space and drink their alcohol and stuff like that. I'm not a man because I really don't need a man cave. I don't want a man cave, to be honest. And I'm not a big drinker, so I guess I'm not a man. Avocado hand is an actual thing. Joy Behar, who was not on a couple episodes of her show, The View, I believe, was out due to avocado hand. Avocado hand is when she was trying to clean out the avocado. For those who don't know, the avocado is this big bulbous thing in the middle, which you pop out as the seed, I think, and then you scrape up the avocado and you eat it however you want to. She was using a knife to pull that little sucker out. It's stuck in there, and she went and she cut her hand with the knife. And apparently it happens enough in California, of all places, like we've already discussed earlier, that they came up with a name for it called avocado hand. Okay, we're right around the first hour thing. We got a whole nother page of stuff from last week, and then this is the stuff for this week. So let's finish this up, and then we'll switch over to episode 247. So hang out here for just a second. Speaking of Lord of the Rings, I talked about them. They're going to be doing a show. I believe it's Netflix is going to be doing a Lord of the Rings TV show. I don't want to see it, but I might look at it just to see if it's interesting. I don't know. Someone on, what was it? One of these other websites out there, Timber, Tagger, something like that. Someone asked, how long did Frodo and Sam... no, I really am. Not really, Patrick. No, I know. He said, you are a man. I am a man. How long did Frodo and Sam walk from Hobbiton to Mount Doom? How long was that? So someone, Immiger, that's what it is. So someone went down and broke up the story arcs and gave lengths. It'd be like, so him going from this place to this place, like Hobbiton to Bree would be the length of time from this place to this place. So they broke it all down, all the sections of the story, broke it all down about how long each of it was, and then had little, and the mileage was this, 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 and this. And they added up all the mileage. You got the total mileage, and they said, so if you want to look at it in modern era, they used England, for example, but I don't remember what they said about England, but America, they said Frodo and Sam walked the length of Los Angeles, which is California again, Los Angeles to Austin, Texas. They wanted to say hi to Lisa Marie Bowman. But that's a long, and that's walking. That's not driving. So you're walking through California, you're walking through New Mexico, Arizona, and a good portion of Texas. That's a lot of walking, dude. And it's a long time because California, New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas, the portion of Texas they walk through and the portion of California they walk through, they're big. So is Arizona and California, or Arizona and New Mexico. So they walk the distance from Los Angeles to Austin, Texas. So if you ever want to know, thank Immiger for that. Avengers Infinity War has hit $2 billion. Yes. Avengers 4 is going to break that. Just saying. Quote me. Come back here next. Excuse me. Come back here next year, and I'll say, I told you so. There we go. Leah Thompson. So I have to thank Patrick Smith again for reminding me that Leah Thompson was in the Little Women trailer. Leah Thompson is interested in a new Howard the Duck movie, and I've talked about Howard the Duck before. Howard the Duck is half a good movie. The other half is kind of crappy. And I still like the idea of the midget or little person, whatever, in the duck costume. I thought that was awesome. It was 86. Computer effects really weren't as good as they are now. Now you can get something similar to what they're doing in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies with Seth Green as the voice of Howard the Duck. But Leah Thompson, who's still gorgeous, by the way, and was phenomenal in Howard the Duck. Wants to do another Howard the Duck movie, and I think I would do it in a second with Leah Thompson. The movie also. Anyway, but yes, I think that would be brilliant, and I think we need to do it. So go for it. All right, I'm going to save this portion for the end because we're not going to be doing holidays from 2 weeks ago because I really don't want to look at that far back. I'm going to look at holidays for this week. So I'm going to be doing a new segment on my shows. I have one for this week, and I'm going to do one for this week as well. It's going to be a lot quicker. It's going to be boom, 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 boom. And I wanted to do it, but we'll see. We'll get that in a second. Huge dust storm hits Opportunity rover on Mars. That was interesting. They showed a picture. He took a selfie after the storm hit. He was covered in dust and stuff like that. It's kind of interesting. It was like the dust storm in The Martian, which is still a great movie, by the way. Much closer to home, the World of Beer opens in Owings Mills, which is right down the road from here. So we have the World of Beer here. So hooray. If you don't know what the World of Beer is, it's a beginning franchise. There's about 3 or 4 in this area. I think there's more around here. We finally have our own around here. So we are a real thing now. I have to give a shout out to one of my former co-hosts who I always have been trying to get back on here, but I'm a lazy son of a gun. And I really want to get her back on here. And I think I'm going to try to do it again when the new Doctor Who comes out because I want her to talk Doctor Who with me. I know I have an account problem. Don't bother me right now. Bronwyn from Canada. Bronwyn Sieg now is her name. She's been married now for over a year. And let me just put that in. I just remind myself something. I think I had it on here, but I'm going to do that later. She is on a new podcast. Yes, thank you very much, Patrick Smith. I almost called you Patrick Stewart. Patrick Smith agrees with me that Leah Thompson is a yes. Bronwyn, who used to be one of my co-hosts, has a new podcast out now called Ladies of Valhalla. The first episode came out this week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say. I think they talk comics and geek stuff and stuff like that. Give it a look. Look in your podcast stuff, Ladies of Valhalla, and take a listen to it. I promote podcasts, but I really don't listen to them that much because I really don't have the time. I would love to sit and listen to most of these things, and I might find some time to sit down and listen to Bronwyn's because it is one of my former co-hosts. I'm going to try to get back on the show when Doctor Who starts up again, probably later in the fall, and we're going to talk some Doctor Who again. So good on that. So Ladies of Valhalla, Bronwyn's new show, her new podcast. So good on that. Happy 40th birthday, Garfield, which is on June 19th. I guess I could have used that for this week coming up, but I figured I've already mentioned it. So Garfield had his 40th birthday on June 19th. So happy birthday, Garfield. You're still going strong in newspapers, I believe. I don't get a newspaper anymore, so I couldn't tell you. Jeff Johns is now out as the head of DC Productions, and Jim Lee is taking it over. But it's all not bad for Mr. Jeff Johns because he is tapped to write and produce a Green Lantern movie based on his Green Lantern scripts. So if there's any better person to make a Green Lantern movie and write one, it would be Jeff Johns. So looking forward to see what that is, and hopefully they can get it taken care of. Speaking of superhero movies, Captain Marvel, which is after Ant-Man and the Wasp, is the next MCU movie. And it's going to be a perfect lead into Avengers 4, will be scored by a female composer, which is a first because I don't think any female composers have ever worked in a MCU movie. And so this is going to be a good first for them. So can't wait to hear the score, and hopefully it's going to be a good one. Speaking of conductors, I think there's a conductor that everybody knows by the name of, John Williams. For those who don't know who John Williams is, shame on you, for shame. John Williams is probably the greatest conductor of the 20th/21st century because he's still going strong now. Yes, I need you back on my show too, Patrick, definitely. We'll work that out as well. We'll figure out time and date for that, and we'll get you back on, because we had a good time. Our top Tom Hanks movies, and then I think you've done one or two other ones with us as well. So we'll definitely get you back on there, Patrick. I promise you. John Williams, who is the composer of, I don't know, movie themes like, I don't know, was it Star Wars, Superman, E.T., Close Encounters, Jaws, Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, whatever you want to call it. Basically any Spielberg movie and any iconic Harry Potter movies. He's did the scores for those. He's Mr. Iconic. He creates themes that when you hear them, you're automatically transported to that movie. He was in Baltimore 2 weeks ago, attending, of all things, a Baltimore Orioles game, because my baseball team has the worst record in baseball right now, though they're on a 2-game winning streak against the first place Atlanta Braves in Atlanta. But they are terrible right now. But he threw out the first pitch at an Orioles game 2 weeks ago. I think he was in town for our BSO, Baltimore Symphony Orchestra, because the composer at the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra was with him when they threw out the first pitch. So I think he was there to do a show or something like that. So it's kind of cool about that. So good on that. Okay, I got about 15 minutes. I think I'm going to do is I'll push to 10:30, and then I'll try to get this week's episode out in half an hour. It might be a little bit longer than that. We'll see. No, that would make it 45 minutes. I should be okay to do it then. Next up is Catch Your Own Sushi. There's a restaurant that has a big pond in the middle of it, and you catch your fish, and you say, cook it. And they go, very good. They cook it, chop, 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 chop. There's your sushi. So it makes you feel like you're doing something. I think that's pretty cool. So, hey, catch your own sushi. If you like sushi, catch your own sushi. Just be sure it's cooked, because there's that videos going around again about the fish that came alive. The sushi that came alive started crawling away. Yeah, I don't want to think about that. Teen reads Harry Potter to a blind shelter cat every day, which I think is a wonderful story. Shelter animals need love as well. My daughter was interested in reading to the shelter animals as well, and it just never came about. We can still try to look into it, but definitely I like this story. It's really sweet and wonderful. If I had to do that, I would go hungry that night, Scott Troutman. Yeah, you might catch a fish. It might make it easier for you, man. So good on that. Speaking of animals, I don't know how this dog got on the baseball field, but this dog in the middle of the game got onto a baseball field and started chasing the ball that was being thrown around by the infielders. In between innings, when the pitcher's warming up before the batter comes up, the infield and the outfield, they play catch with each other to keep themselves warm. Well, dog ran out on the field and was chasing the balls that one of the infielders was throwing. So I don't know how the dog got in there, but that's a fun story too. I already talked about that. Lucasfilms is shutting down the solo Star Wars movies. I will have more on that next episode. I just wanted to throw that in there because never mind. Speaking of comics, The Max, which was a comic that came out in the 90s by Sam Keith and was a cartoon on MTV's Liquid Television, is coming back out, apparently. They did a teaser for something, and I'm really excited for that because I love The Max. I thought it was one of the best comic books out there, and that's really cool. Shane, John Barenthal, has been spotted on the set of The Walking Dead Season 9. We already know this is Andrew Lincoln's last episode. Last season. We talked about that 3 weeks ago. So he's been spotted on set. He's not coming back. He's not going to be a regular. He's probably going to be there for visions to Andrew Lincoln's Rick Grimes. He's going to, or visions of somebody else, or they're going to do flashbacks, something like that. But he's on, and you'll see some more of your Shane in the Season 9. Parents face a $132,000 bill after their 5-year-old, who was unwatched by the parents. If I was in a art museum or whatever, I'd be on my kids like a hawk, make sure they don't touch anything. And then security on top of that should have been on top of this kid as well. But he knocked over a statue in a museum, and now the parents owe $132,000. That's a lot of money, but it's worth it because they should have had their damn kid, kept an eye on. Speaking of fishing rods, I saw this as a neat idea for a do-it-yourself sort of wiffle ball hitting thing. You dangle a wiffle ball or whatever on a fish hook, and you have fish line, and so your kid hits it, boom, and it takes it as far as the line goes, and then it'll stop. It'll ching when it goes as far as the line will be, and it'll come back. You just have to reel it back in, so you don't have to get up and walk and get it and come back and let the kid throw it up and hit it again. It makes it easier, more convenient, more efficient for you. It also makes you more lazy, but that's besides the point. But still a neat idea. Speaking of Pokemon Go, I talked about it a little bit earlier. Lunatone is coming to Pokemon Go now. Solrock was the one that was in America for a while, but now he's going over to overseas, and Lunatone is coming over here. So good luck on hunting for your Lunatone. We're not doing holidays. People are drinking their own pee. Now, I know Goldie Hawn at one time said she takes her pee and puts it on her face in the morning, and it like tightens pores and cleans stuff up. That was disgusting. People are now drinking their own pee because, I don't understand. Because pee is what we call waste. It's when you have too much. Well, maybe that's what it is. When you have no, because you're just peeing it out basically again. It's waste. Is when you have too much of a certain thing in your body. Your body doesn't need all this stuff, so they eject what they don't need to keep your body running. Extra, vitamins or extra fat or whatever, and they reduce it into the form of you're going to the bathroom, either one or two type of thing. So I guess drinking your own pee, you've released all these extra vitamins that your body doesn't need, and then as your body is getting fixed up, stuff like that, you drink some more, and then you retake in the nutrients that you just pissed out. But wouldn't that be not working because you pissed them out because you don't need them? Probably California again. They're almost as bad as Florida, man. Ugh. These next two stories are enough to bang my head against the wall. I've never been a big fan of remakes. You all know that, who've been watching this show, remakes of movies and stuff like that. Why remake a movie unless it's really bad? If it's a really bad movie or needs a fix. And I've talked about some movies that I wouldn't mind seeing a remake of. Toys is one of them. Mixed Nuts is another one of those. Two really great premises that just failed for whatever reason. The script wasn't strong enough. The actors weren't strong enough. Whatever. Yeah, pee drinking. Yes, Patrick Smith. Look it up. It's a real thing. Scott Troutman, first cannibalism, now pee drinking, now drinking piss. You should have called this episode the new fine dining. And don't forget, catch your own sushi also, Scott. That's not a bad idea. Anyway, I called it double the aural pleasure. I made the aural joke 2 weeks ago, but I figured, why not do it again? So first, I hear they're going to be remaking Arachnophobia. James Wan, who I think is directing the It movies, I guess, or maybe not. Maybe he's directing the Aquaman movie. I think he's doing the Aquaman movie. James Wan, I think he did some horror movies early on. He wants to remake Arachnophobia. I mean, I guess you could, but Jeff Daniels was fantastic in that. John Goodman was amazing in it. The other guy, Julian Sands, was another good actor in that as well. Early 90s, one of my favorite movies that I used to watch over and over again. It's a horror comedy. John Goodman's Exterminator got a little annoying once in a while, but he actually, in the end, turned out to be pretty cool. But my favorite scene is Jeff Daniels as your every guy, every man, suffering from arachnophobia, having to take on the bad guy in a final battle. And one of the greatest final battle sequences between a man and a spider you can make. It's fantastic. The way it's shot, the way it's framed, the jump scares, and stuff like that. And it was a great movie, and I don't want to see a remake of it because they'll screw it up and make it more horrible. And then on top of that, I love Robert Zemeckis. I'm going to talk about Robert Zemeckis in my next episode. And what I love what he's doing this Christmas. But then I see something like this, and it makes me go, Robert, I love you, but please don't. Robert Zemeckis wants to remake The Witches, Roald Dahl's movie, or story about a coven of witches that's meeting at a hotel room where a little boy whose grandmother has been battled witches before takes on this coven of witches at this hotel. And it's fantastic. They did a wonderful movie. It was a British film. I forget the director of it. No real big stars. I think, what's his name? The goofy comedian who does Mr. Bean. He was like, and Angelica Houston was the main witch. Those were the two big actors in the film. The rest were pretty much filled with British actors who, if you were in Britain, you probably would know who they were, but here in America, not so much. But Angelica Houston was fantastic, and Mr. Bean, God, Patrick will probably tell me who it is in a second, or Scott. But Mr. Bean came in also, and was really good in this as well. So I loved the movie, and it was a combination of a little bit of Jim Henson in there. Rowan Atkinson. Thank you, Scott. Yes, Rowan Atkinson and Angelica Houston. Jim Henson had a little to do with the animatronic mice that are in it. I'm not going to spoil why there's animatronic mice in it, but they were involved with that, and they also did the Grand High Witch's makeup, which looked a lot like a character from the Dark Crystal. The Skidsky, don't kill me that I don't remember the name of the Skeziks, whatever they're called. Again, probably Scott or Patrick was like, come on, man, you know what you're doing. It's these things. Because my mind is just, so it was great. I love the film. It's fun. It's not that scary. It's good for kids. I'm going to probably show it to my daughter really soon. We're going to have a movie marathon at the end of July, so that's going to be pretty fun. That might be on the list as well for that as well, because I really like it. But I guess if anyone has to remake it, I guess Zemeckis is the best choice because I love him. But Rob, come on, man, gotta do something else. So we'll see if that comes about. So remakes, blah blah blah. Heather Locklear was hospitalized after attempting suicide, or not thinking of suicide. She didn't attempt it. She was thinking about it. Again, we're living in a rough time right now. Depression's all-time high. Anything could set you off at a moment's notice. If you're feeling bad, try to get help. I know it's not easy to do, and we've had this discussion before, but we don't want to lose anybody if we can help it. So if you feel really low, check out Patrick. Patrick's done some good, and Will Fish have done good listings of numbers you can call if you feel depressed or suicidal, and the people on the other line are trained to help you through this. So I don't really want to hear any more stories about this. I know we're going to because of the times we're in, but it's hard, and I want people to not be unhappy, and I know I can't help that. There's nothing I can really do to help, except to tell you, call. It might be helpful for you. Handicapped. There's a new invention now that if you are handicapped and are in a wheelchair, you can put your wheelchair into a new sort of like chassis, and you can create your own power scooter. I think it goes up to like 40 miles an hour or something like that. So you're actually like driving a little mini motorcycle, but you're in your wheelchair still because you can't get out of your wheelchair, but you're just going to be able to move around quicker and not have to worry about someone pushing you or whatever. You can make you move stuff on your own, which is really, really cool. So definitely cool to look at there. And I went from 3 viewers to 1 viewer. So I think they're moving on to back to 2 viewers. Good. The last story before I get to my new section on here is Sam Raimi's new movie, Bermuda Triangle. Sounds like it's going to be absolutely insane and a good return to Sam Raimi as we've known and loved. We don't know much about it, except it's been described as a movie that's going to have sharks, Nazis, Vikings, and Ryan Reynolds in it. So you get all those together and you get the Bermuda Triangle, you get Sam Raimi directing it. You're in for a treat. So keep an eye out on that. I'll probably be mentioning it more once it gets closer to it when we start seeing trailers and production on it. I think it was just something that might be like Ryan Reynolds' next picture or something like that. So good on that. So my new thing I'm going to be doing now is I follow something on Facebook. I forget what it's called, the title of it right now. But they do like a flashback to movies that came out like 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 38 years ago, whatever, on this date. Sort of like, you know, my holidays, but these are films that came out on this date. So I'm going to try to do some of these. Again, I was going to try to have a bigger discussion about this, but since I'm doing 2 episodes, I'm just going to run through it real quick. Can't Hardly Wait came out 20 years ago last week. Let's just say the 13th, 12th, 11th to the 17th. So sometime during that week, Can't Hardly Wait with Jennifer Love Hewitt and Jenna Elfman. And a bevy of 90s hotties involved in it. That came out. It's a typical senior year party blowout and everything's changing type of thing. 32 years ago, Back to School. For those who only know Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, why don't you go back to school with Rodney Dangerfield, where we learn of a Robert Downey Jr. who is a wimpy anti-war, anti-football guy who has crazy hair and is Robert Downey Jr. silly. But you also get Rodney Dangerfield in one of his more nuanced performances, not one of his crazy Caddyshack-esque type performances. This one's more nuanced about a self-made rich man who skipped college because he had a successful business and then lost the woman he loved more than anything, and then has sort of spiraled into having, marrying a gold-digging woman, still loves his son immensely, and goes back to school, decides it's time for him to go back to school. I know you did, Patrick, and I also saw that you went and you got help. So I'm glad that you seem to be doing better, and thank you for watching again. Anytime this show hopefully will make you feel better, because I'm a total loser. Look at me. But hopefully I try to be funny and hopefully entertaining for you guys. And I'm self-deprecating, I know that. Anyway, so he decides that he wants to go to college and get an college education with his son, and all hilarity ensues. A older guy going to college as a freshman type of thing. Ned Beatty's got a great role in it. William Zabka plays his typical bad guy role. Terry Farrell, before her Star Trek DS9 role, she's in this as well. And forget who plays his son. He's a director now. Was in Christine, and then he directed a bunch of movies now. Oh, God, I need to get better prepared here, man. Anyway, so that came out 32 years ago. Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, came out 19 years ago. Now, a story about that I have is it came out when I was still working at the radio station, and we were doing premieres and stuff like that. We were also doing Austin Powers events at various bars and stuff like that. So I would go with a couple of different people. So the day the movie came out, we did a event at a bar out by the BWI airport. And so the guy I was working with, for the life of me, I can't remember what his name is. I want to say it's Mike Carberry, actually, but I don't think that's right. But we decided we wanted to go, or it was Chris. It was Chris something. No, it was Chris. It wasn't Mike. It was Chris something. I don't remember what Chris it was, but we did the event, And our headquarters for the radio station was in, at the time, a building that had a Borders bookstore in it and a eight theater movie theater in it. And they were showing Spy Who Shagged Me, the late show. So we got back like at 9:30 or something like that. There was a 10 o'clock show at one of the theaters. So me and Chris decided, hey, let's put the stuff away that we just did. We just spent 2 hours talking Austin Powers stuff. Why don't we go see the sequel? So we went, we saw the movie. So we saw it. It was enjoyable. The Austin Powers movies are interesting, somewhat funny. Mike Myers, though, still likes to beat a dead horse when it comes to certain jokes over and over again, that it gets a little tiresome. But the music's still pretty interesting, and the characterizations are pretty cool and funny. It's a funny film, so we'll see. 32 years ago, also, that last week, Ferris Bueller's Day Off came out. For the longest time, Ferris Bueller's Day Off was not one of my favorite movies, but I've grown past that, and I've gone to appreciate it as it is. 36 years ago, E.T. came out. At the time, E.T. had been the highest grossing movie of all time until Titanic overthrew it. My story about E.T. I was going to tell was I did not see E.T. till like August. So if it came out in June, it was like 2 months later that I actually saw it in the movie theater, in a theater with my mom and my sister and like one other dude who was in the movie theater. It was like E.T. was on its way out. It had already made a ton of money, and we hadn't seen it yet. We were house sitting my grandfather's house. They were somewhere. So we were house sitting them because they had a dog, and we had to make sure he got out and was taken care of and stuff like that. So we were house sitting there. So we went to see that movie. And that's all my recollection of E.T. that I have about that. 25 years ago, Jurassic Park came out. I just showed my daughter Jurassic Park a couple weeks ago. She loved it. She wants to see Jurassic World, so we'll do that on our movie marathon in July also. And Jurassic World 2 came out on Friday, so in time for the 25th anniversary, so good on that. I want to talk more about this one, so I might have to do this at a different time, but 28 years ago, Dick Tracy came out. Now, Dick Tracy was in response to Batman in 1989 when Batman 89 came out. It was such a big hit type of thing. I can't break 20. Yeah, it is 20 years ago. It was a big hit. And so it sort of made superhero comics kind of cool again. So Disney had this Dick Tracy movie that Warren Beatty wanted to write and direct. And I have never really been the biggest Warren Beatty fan. After this, I loved it. I loved Dick Tracy because it was exactly what I wanted from a movie about Dick Tracy. Full of primary colors, sets that you could tell were sets, overacting bad guys, gruesome looking bad guys. It brought the cartoon strip to life more than really any movie about superheroes at that time did. Even Batman, which I loved. I loved Dick Tracy. I loved it so much. And the Danny Elfman score is great. And Madonna, never thought I'd say this, but she did a really good job because she actually, spoiler alert, I'm not going to tell you about it, but she actually plays 2 roles in the film, and I'm not going to tell you what the other one is. You have to go see it yourself because I highly recommend it. I'm going to try to get my daughter to watch that too because I love Dick Tracy. Glenn Headley, Charlie Korsmo, Al Pacino, Dustin Hoffman, Robert Forsythe, a whole bunch of other, Mandy Patinkin, Madonna, just a great cast in general. Dick Van Dyke is in it, playing a greasy bad guy. It's like, Dick Van Dyke's a bad guy? Come on, man. No, he's the corrupt mayor. That's fantastic. So yeah, if you haven't seen Dick Tracy, go see Dick Tracy. If you have a problem with Warren Beatty, just for this movie, get past it because he actually does a wonderful job. And Glenn Headley's amazing, and Madonna's really good, and Al Pacino totally chews the scenery, but that's what his character does. Paul Sorvino's in it also. He's great too. And there's probably the other actors who played some of the other bad guys. I just can't remember who they are. Mandy Patinkin is almost unrecognizable. I forgot he was in it, but he is. Because at that time, I'd only really known him from Princess Bride, and he's totally different looking. So that's a good one. And finally, the big one before we head off to the new episode is Grease had its 40th anniversary last week as well. Say what you will about Grease. I like Grease. And I liked it so much that when it was re-released, I would say 20th anniversary in 98, probably. I actually went to the movie theater and I watched it in a movie theater. I never thought I would do that because, you know, Grease was always Grease. For a while there, I didn't want to go see Grease, but then I forced myself to see it, and I enjoyed it. And so when it was going to be re-released in movie theaters, like, why not? Went and had a great time, and now still have a great time watching it all the time. So that is it for episode 246. 247 will be coming up in just 2 seconds. So don't go nowhere. Scott and Patrick, don't go nowhere. Just give me 2 seconds, okay? Real quick. You'll probably see this. Okay, Patrick, I'm back. This is episode 240. Oh, wait, 247. Hold on 1 second. I forgot to. It didn't quite go as I wanted it to go, but since we are a different episode, I have a different song for you to start with. Oh, stupid ad. I hate ads. Let me see. So I'm wearing a new shirt, see? And I got a new drink. So hooray. I hate commercials. All right, here we go. This is Weezer singing Island in the Sun. Fantastic song. Perfect for summer. Welcome to Dylan Knows, episode 247. It is the week of summer. It is the week of my birthday. It is a wonderful week in the world of Dylan and in the world. It is now officially summer, so it's time for, now with costume changes. That's right, Scott. And drinks, too. Don't forget, I got a new drink, too. It's been sitting here for an hour and a half, so it's not as cold as it was. So this is Dylan Knows, episode 247. First day of summer was Thursday. My birthday was Wednesday. It's the first day of winter down in Australia. We all heard you pee. I didn't drink it, though. He said, Patrick said, we heard you pee. I didn't drink it, though. No, this isn't pee. This is wonderful blackberry Bing. Wonderful energy drink. Though it would have been better if it was colder. Anyway, so it's been a great week. Well, I don't know if I'd say great. My birthday is always great because it's my birthday. It's my own special holiday, and you all know I'm a big holiday guy. And there's a reason why I'm wearing flamingos. I'll get into that in a second. And also, I don't know if you guys have been noticing, I've had the flamingo light on the whole time, huh? I have a story behind that, but I'm not going to tell it right now unless I have time. So what we're going to talk about today. Today's episode is stuff that happened this week. What we are doing is, you know, again, not a lot of stuff came out going on this week. We'll be talking a little bit more about, you know, I just finished up doing what movies came out, how many years ago. Last week. This week we've got some new ones, including one of my all-time favorite movies of all time. Actually, two. I forgot about two of my all-time favorite movies came out this week. One on my birthday. And we're going to talk about that in a second. We're going to talk about a brand new comic book idea to get more comic book readers. And I think it's a brilliant idea. I just heard about this yesterday, and I am excited for it, and I'll talk to you about that in a second. Some new TV shows, including another one that could be potentially a quite amazing TV show. Anything quite as disgusting as drinking your pee or eating doing cannibalism. No, actually, it's just fairly clean today. We do have a little bit more of a sad bent to this week's episode 247. A year ago, June 21st, our good friend and snark aleck, Amy Figaro, passed away. Amy had been on my show at least 5 or 6 times. This show, Dylan knows. In fact, she was on it January of last year, and we were planning for another event later on. She was also scheduled to be, along with her boyfriend/fiance Patrick, at Snarkstock 2017 in Atlanta, but something came up and she was unable to go. It was something major, though. It was like a house issue or something like that, so she couldn't make it. And she was very disappointed because she wanted to hang out with everybody because we were a little bit closer to where she is. We'll talk about a little bit about Amy Figaro. I did a whole episode eulogizing her last year at this time. I will probably repost it later this week, probably tomorrow, just as a remembrance of Amy Figaro. Also, a devastating death. Coco the gorilla, who learned sign language, died at the age of 45, which is actually pretty old for a gorilla, but she was an amazing gorilla, and we'll talk a little bit about her too. And this might be kind of disgusting. We have finally discovered why kissing was invented. So, with those teases, let's go into today's episode 247. The second part of the double episode here of Dylan Knows. Brand new shirt, brand new song, brand new drink. Let's get moving. Let's start with Little Caesars. Why not? Every Friday we get pizza here at the house. It's just the way it worked out. It's Friday, the end of the week. We're excited. We're happy. We had a rough week. The weekend's coming. Hey, why not buy some pizza? So we've been getting pizza from a local pizzeria called J&P's. Still good. Could be potentially greasy. They don't always cut it properly. But there's just something about it that just sort of made me, it's probably the grease. It kind of upset my stomach a little bit. Maybe the cheese. I don't know. So I decided that I want to try something different this week. Now, people at my work, we have a Little Caesars restaurant, carry-out, I should say, near our work. And so once a week, a bunch of people from our work go and get Little Caesars pizza, and I occasionally get a free slice or two here or there. But we have a Little Caesars near us, carry-out near us. Now, for those who don't know what Little Caesars is. Little Caesars is actually a brilliant idea. It's fast food pizza for the most part. It's pizza that if you just want the hot and ready, either a plain or a pepperoni pizza, you just walk into the store and say, I want a plain, I want a pepperoni. They'll be like, there's one for you, there's one for you. It costs $5. Actually, it's $5.50 now. It's $5.50, $11. J&P's pizza costs $14. So I got 2 pizzas for the price of 1. Well, no, that doesn't quite work. 2 pizzas that usually cost less than 1 pizza at another place. And it's good. I like it. So I brought it home. The kids said they've had it before, but they didn't quite remember it. They really enjoyed it also. Plus, they had a lot left over, so they had it for lunch today, and they have lunch tomorrow. So Little Caesars is good. So if you haven't gone to Little Caesars in a while, they were big in the early 80s, not early, probably mid to late 80s, and then they sort of had a downward slope in the 90s and sort of disappeared, but then they started coming back at like the beginning of this century and have now are back on it. They've got a college football bowl game named after them now, and they're starting to sprout up everywhere. So if you haven't gone to Little Caesars, it's not a bad place. It's fast food pizza. If you're expecting anything else other than that, you got to go someplace else. Extra Most Bestest Hot and Ready from Little Caesars is awesome. So Scott Trellman agrees with me. Yes, we miss Amy too, Patrick. And we'll talk a little bit about that too. So I mentioned this earlier that going back to Pokemon Go, I know you guys probably don't do Pokemon Go, but we do have some Snark Alex that do, and Dawn loves it, and my kids love it, and I like it too. They've introduced trading now in Pokemon Go, which is something that they've been talking about since they started Pokemon Go, where now you can trade Pokemon with other trainers. But to do that, you have to set up a friend thing. So we've been given all these friends. So I've got like about 50 friends. Dawn's got like over 100 because she raids with 2 parties. So she's got lots of friends there. And you have to build your friendship through giving gifts to each other you can get at Pokestops, or raiding together, or battling together. And eventually when you reach, you can trade at any time, but it's going to cost extra Stardust, which is something that we collect at Pokemon Go that you can help increase the power of your Pokemon. But in order to trade, it's going to cost a lot of Stardust, unless you're really, really good friends, which takes a little bit of time to build up to. And then it'll be a lot less Stardust for you to worry about. So that's starting out. So that's been kind of a little bit of a frenzy in Pokemon Go this week. Also a brand new raid boss, which we've never seen before, by the name of Regice, which is a robotic ice creature, is now out as a raid boss and will be out till July 19th. And the Alolan Pokemon, I got to explain that a little bit. There's been 7 generations of Pokemon in games and anime and stuff like that. They've released the first 3 in a Pokemon Go game. So that has 4 more remaining to get released. They're going to be releasing Gen 4 sometime this year, probably in the fall. Again, it usually seems to be in the fall, winter, when they release the next generation. But Generation 7 is the most recent one. That's Pokemon Sun and Moon's characters. Those are video games that you can play on your 3DSs. There's anime about it now, and even manga about it now too. And it takes place in Alola, which is an island that is very reminiscent of Hawaii. And you get brand new Pokemon, but then they also have a number of Pokemon from Generation 1, which is what we've already gotten. Was the first generation we dealt with, the Pikachus and stuff like that. There's a number of Gen 1 Pokemon that get new looks in Alola in Gen 7. So Niantic, who is the company that runs Pokemon Go, decided it would be cool to release those Gen 1 Alolan Pokemon now during the summer Hawaii Islands type of thing. So those have been released in eggs out in the wild a little bit, so people are going crazy to try to catch those also, which is really, really cool too. So we have all that, and then on top of that, as I said, Community Day was on July 16th, or June 16th. The next one's actually going to be, instead of 4 weeks, going to be in 3 weeks. July 6th, weekend of July 4th, is when the next Community Day is, and that's going to be Squirtle, which is going to be the last of the Gen 1 starters. So there'll be a Squirtle one. So Community Day is going to be in 3 weeks. So it normally would have been sometime in mid-July, but they're doing big events in the summer, a Pokemon Fest in Chicago, some overseas events as well. So they don't want to run Community Day during these fests. So they decided the only weekend we can do Community Day in July is this first weekend in July. So we'll be doing that in 3 weeks. So you'll be hearing more about that as well. So we got a lot of stuff going on in Pokemon Go, and I highly recommend, if you've never played the game, don't look down on those who do. It's actually a very entertaining game. It's fun. It gets you out and walking, gets you out to meet a lot of people. We've met a lot of new people, and it's a lot of fun. And Dawn and I usually, and Dawn loves this, date nights where we go out and we just go Pokemon hunting. And then sometimes we take walks with the kids during the summer, walk up and down our wonderful Main Street. They got lots of Pokestops and lots of Pokemon there, so it's great. But yes, a number of Snark Alex are involved with that as well. And we will be doing that too in Gettysburg for Snark Stock. All right. I will talk about that later. As I also mentioned in my last episode, which was only about, I mentioned this about an hour ago, Lucasfilm said that they were no longer going to be doing the Solo Star Wars movies after the disappointment of Solo. Luckily, someone said, you got to get a grip, man. It was one bad movie. And even then, I've heard so much good things about it. It's just from a group of people that are just bitchy. So Lucasfilm has said, yeah, it's actually not quite true. We are not going to be canceling all the Solo Star Wars movies. So they're back on. I don't know if they're going to be as often as they were hoping. They were going to try one every other year. All I care about is I want to see Kenobi with Ewan McGregor. Both that one might be pretty cool, I guess. And then you can go from there. So there's that one. Speaking of Star Wars, this kind of pissed me off a little bit. Let's see, where is it in this? Okay, here we go. I've talked about this before. I liked The Last Jedi. I enjoyed it. It was an enjoyable Star Wars movie. That was the most recent Star Wars movie that came out this past December. It made a ton of money, so a lot of other people liked it. And as I mentioned before, everybody, it made a ton of money in movie theaters, and then everybody's like, "Oh, it's terrible! It's the worst Star Wars movie we've ever seen. This is worse than the prequels." And then when it came out on DVD, Amazon had sold out of it. They had to wait for new stock to come in, and Walmarts and Targets were down to their last few. Apparently, somebody liked it because they were buying all the episodes or all the copies of the DVD. Sorry, I thought I saw movement. Don't know if it was a mouse or my cat or nothing. It looks like it was nothing. And the problem is, because of the atmosphere that our country and world are in right now, that a lot of the haters of Last Jedi did not like the female-centric characters, or they did not like how their hero, Luke Skywalker, who they were emulating, these Star Wars fans who were emulating him, and they love Luke Skywalker. He's like the epitome of the greatest Jedi of all time, was nothing but a mean old man in this movie. And then the appearance of Rose, an Asian actress. Now, I don't agree with what her character did in the movie, and I might not have liked it, and I might have thought that maybe her character might have been not really necessary because you had the other characters do, but I had no problem with her, and her story was okay, but it didn't lessen my enjoyment of the movie. A lot of people hated her for that too, hated the movie for that as well. And yeah, there's some other stuff about the movie that was kind of like, really? A lot of different stuff that we were not expected to see. But mostly pissed people off. It did not be a movie that they were picturing in their head. When you brought Luke Skywalker back, they wanted to see Luke Skywalker from Return of the Jedi, kicking Jedi butt and being, this amazing Jedi. And he turned out just to be this grumpy old man who didn't really care. And it was really funny, too. It was a funny movie, too. I enjoyed it a lot. My kids loved it. I know I have really big Star Wars fanatic friends who loved it as much as I did. And these same fanatic friends these are true fanatics. Guys who love Star Wars more than anything. They love Last Jedi. They love Solo also. And these are people that I trust and believe in them because they are the huge fans. And a lot of these so-called fans of Star Wars claim that it was The Last Jedi was a terrible movie, and Solo was a terrible movie. Slow down, Dylan. There's a group of them have decided that they claim that they have $200 million that they're going to remake The Last Jedi. And yet they're still asking for money via those money internet things. Again, I GoFundMe type stuff. And they're also saying, hey, if we want to have people who come in, we want people to come in who like the movie and who hated it, and we want you both to work on the script, and then we'll remake it and release it to movie theaters. Are you going to get Mark Hamill? How are you going to get Carrie Fisher involved? Are you going to get all the other actors and actresses involved in the movie? Are you going to get the costumes? Are you going to be able to do the special effects? As William Shatner said in a great Saturday Night Live sketch, get a life. It's a movie. It was a fun movie. It was an entertaining movie. And if you didn't like it, fine. You don't like it, that's fine. You don't say, we're going to remake a movie we don't like. You just don't do that. And then you say you have $200 million to do it, and yet you say you need more money, you need more pledges to come in and make money for you. It sounds like a scam to me, man. And are you going to get the same actors to play the roles again? Are you going to get the same costumes? Are you going to get the same special effects? What are you going to do? It is unnecessary. It is unneeded. If you have all this money, make your own damn movie. You don't have to remake a movie. Make your own movie. You don't have to make if you want to make a Star Wars movie your way, go ahead. Just don't use the Star Wars characters. Create your own characters. Create your own world. That's the whole point of why I'm angry about remakes. There are a ton of creative people out there who have wonderful ideas, amazing ideas, and are never going to be able to have their ideas come to fruition because nobody cares. They don't want to take a chance. They're afraid that if we try to pitch this to somebody, they're going to look at you and go, nah, not going to do it. And they're going to go to everybody and they're going to say, no, not going to do it. And then you're like, okay. That's when you use your own money to make your dream project. If your dream project is to remake a Star Wars movie, you got some problems, man. Give me the $200 million. I could make probably 2 movies that I want to make that are original ideas of my own and try to release them in theaters myself. I would love to have that money. But I'm not going to do it. I'm too old. Well, no, you're never too old. I can't say that because that's a bad attitude. I'm too lazy. Let's put it that way. I don't want to go, I don't know, I'm going to try to raise money and do this and try. And that's the problem also. I want to open a coffee shop here in Reichstone. I think we need it. But at the same time, I keep getting hit with the same facts that it's expensive, that it's not going to be something easy to do, and you're going to need to get the money, and I don't think I can do it. And so, as I said, I am kind of lazy. I'm set in my ways. I'm happy where I am. I've got a beautiful house, beautiful family. I have food on the table. I get to read my comics. I get to do this show every week. I live in a safe neighborhood. I have a car, which needs work, but still I have a car. My kids are healthy. My wife is happy, I guess. I hope. She's laughing at me, so maybe she hurt me. Maybe she's not happy. I don't know. It's just so funny. It was the perfect timing. She laughed at me when I said that. It's just a bad idea. If you have an issue with somebody because they are Asian or female, the problem's with you. Take that money and make your own damn movie. We need more creative types. If you want to make a movie, make a movie. If you want to make a ripoff or your version of Star Wars, go ahead. No one's stopping you. You just have to change the names. You can use same backstories, stuff like that if you want to, but you have to change certain aspects of it, or Lucasfilm's going to say, we're going to sue your ass. Use your head. If you want to do a great science fiction movie that's in your head, that doesn't have Asian people or women in it, that's up to you. That's your money. You can do whatever you want. I think you're a freaking idiot, but it's your artistic vision. Go ahead. I don't care. Don't try to remake a movie that has already made hundreds of millions of dollars. No one's going to touch it. They're going to look at that and go, I'm not going to release this. I released it already. It made almost $1 billion. And then we had the DVDs. They sold out like crazy. You didn't like it. Okay, no big deal. There's a lot of movies I didn't like. I'm not going to go, you know what? I think Pulp Fiction is overrated, and I'm going to get crucified for that. I say this every time. I think Pulp Fiction is overrated, and I'm not a big fan of it. But you know what? I'm going to take $200 million, and I'm going to remake Pulp Fiction the way I want to. Do you know how stupid that sounds? I didn't like the movie, okay? But you know what? There are hundreds and thousands and millions of other people who did. And then there are some who didn't as well. That's fine also. If you didn't like it, fine. If you loved it, great. If you think it's one of the greatest movies of all time, awesome. I'm glad. It's not up to me. It's your opinion. Movies I like, you probably hate. Movies you like, I probably hate. But then there might be movies that we both like. But I'm not going to say I hated Pulp Fiction. It could have been so much better. I'm going to remake it for $200 million. And maybe that's not the best direction. I'm going to do Godfather Part 2. I didn't like Godfather Part 2. So I'm going to remake Godfather Part 2 the way I want to do it. Or any sequel, or any of these things. I didn't like how Avengers Infinity War ended. So I'm going to remake Avengers Infinity War. No! By the way, I loved Avengers Infinity War. For those who don't know that, I did. And I loved the ending. I thought it was fantastic. So this is just me being hypothetical. Take that $200 million that you claim to have and make your own damn movie. Don't remake a movie. Don't remake a Last Jedi. Do not remake a Star Wars movie, because guess what? You're not going to get it distributed. And it's a waste of money. If you only run it through YouTube, or you give it to buddies, or you put it online, stuff like that. And you know what's going to happen? Lucasfilm's a lot more powerful than you. They're going to shut your ass down. They're going to sue your ass. And they're going to win. Speaking of that, I also mentioned this also. Comcast is swooping in and is going to take over Fox. And Disney is trying to stop them. Disney was going to get it, but then Comcast said, no, our deal is better. Disney's like, hey, hold my beer. Disney has outbid Comcast, and Fox is like, okay, we'll go with Disney. So good on that. So last week, it looked like Comcast was going to win. This week, Disney won. They literally won. 21st Century Fox said, we're going to go to Disney, which means now in a few years we'll get Wolverine, Fantastic Four, Deadpool interacting with the MCU. So cheers on that. Now, are people scared about that, being that the DCU is now going to be, or not Disney, that Disney is going to be more powerful because of that? It could happen, but what are you going to do? I want to talk about this. Women in Japan can now purchase a anti-pervert flamethrower. They can carry it with them, and if someone starts messing with them or trying to rape them or attack them or bother them, you can burn them to a crisp, baby. This ain't The Onion. This is a true story. You can get a flamethrower, anti-pervert flamethrower in Japan. Make its way back here to America, man. I want to see a whole bunch of women in America who are getting assaulted and attempted rape pull out their flamethrowers and burn those sons of bitches up. Yes! That's America, baby. Well, it's Japan, but we'll take it. Absolutely great idea. Speaking of Japan, Japan is fantastic. I need to go to Japan. I'm going to put that on my bucket list. I'm going to do a bucket list episode someday. Japan is definitely going to be on my bucket list. I want to go to Japan because it just seems like such a great place. I'm sure there's a lot of other stuff. When you need an anti-pervert flamethrower in Japan, I guess there's people out there that are crazy. There's people crazy everywhere, I guess. But this is an interesting story. I talked about the World Cup last show. The Japanese World Cup team, they beat Colombia. And after they beat Colombia, the Japanese fans in the stadium cleaned up the stadium. I don't even do that. I go to an Oriole game. I go to Ravens game. I drink my soda. I eat my popcorn. I eat my hot dogs. I throw that trash underneath my chair and I walk away. I'm a dick. But I'm also paying for somebody to do their job to clean up. Do they have money on the table? They can feed their family. So I'm not such a dick now, am I? But I just thought that was such a great idea that the Japanese, the fans of the Japanese World Cup team, after their team won, cleaned up the stadium. We're going to have a lot of crispy politicians if the flamethrower makes to America. Yeah, we are, Scott. And hey, it doesn't necessarily have to be just for women, right? It could be a good deterrent for anybody. But I just think that's a great idea for the Japanese fans cleaning up the World Cup. That's fantastic. That's a great idea. I guess, is there such thing as a famous sex robot? I guess maybe it's the first sex robot, I guess. I talked about sex robots before. There's male and female ones. They're warm. They're wet. They're all kinds of, they're lifelike. They can talk and make noise and moan and all this stuff. And it's weird. It's a bizarre little story. This is even bizarre. Now, when you think sex robot, you automatically think, I can have sex anytime I want. That's the reason why we have sex robots. I want to have sex. I don't have a girlfriend or a wife. I can pull out my sex robot and have sex whenever I want to. Well, it's not raping because it's a robot. And they're programmed to say yes, I guess, apparently. Until today, when I found this article where the famous sex robot, I guess, as I'm saying, is maybe the first one they ever had or whatever, can now refuse sex if they are not in the mood. And that leads me to believe then, why the hell would I buy a sex robot then? Because I can get that from anybody. The whole point of a sex robot is to have sex anytime you want without forcing yourself and getting your privates fried by a flamethrower, anti-pervert flamethrower. Again, we're not thinking about AI yet. This is a programming thing that the sex robot is supposed to allow you to do whatever you want to it, male and female. And that goes for the people who use the male sex robots as well. They're supposed to be there just for your sexual pleasure. Now, to have them start refusing you, there is no reason then to get a sex robot, because you can get sex with a real person and get the same, I don't feel like it tonight. We've all been there. Sex robots. Anti-pervert flamethrowers. What is my show coming to? Jerry Springer's show is no longer on the air. That's what we're coming to. Can you believe that? All done after 30, 20, 25 some years. Jerry Springer has been a huge influence on things, whatever. And you've seen the whole thing, and the stories that they tell are just absolutely insanity. I'm glad it's over, to be honest, because it was starting to get a little grating on me. Woman that I work with at my job, she's a sewer. She's a really good sewer. She's the sewing head sewer, actually. And she can actually sew while watching TV. She's got a TV, and we've let her have it. I mean, people have bitched and complained about it also, but she gets results. So she's not being distracted by it. It's not causing damages. It's not causing the sewing and buttons, whatever, to be upside down. She's able to focus on TV and sewing at the same time. So we let it go because she does her job right, and she's good at it. But there have been times when I was working over there with her, or I was in that general area, and she was watching Jerry Springer, and I was just shaking my head like, oh my God, this show is so terrible. And I remember the height of it in the 1990s. And in fact, I talked about Spy Who Shagged Me last episode. That has a sequence from the Jerry Springer show in it as well, ironically. So, RIP Jerry Springer show. Speaking of bizarre accidents, the Philly Fanatic, the Philadelphia Phillies baseball mascot, he goes around during home games and he shoots hot dogs out of those cans. You get the T-shirt cannons, you know, in between innings. They shoot hot dogs and stuff like that. Well, there was a woman who I think was injured. Bad shoulder, arm, something like that. And the Philly Fanatic, I guess, didn't know that and shot a hot dog right towards her. Now, normally you'd be able to go, ah, or you'd be able to move out of the way so you wouldn't get hit. She couldn't because of her injury. She got hit in the face with a hot dog going probably about 30 to 40 miles per hour. Maybe not that much, but 20 to 30 miles per hour probably. I mean, you're going, it's coming out of that thing, and it's going real quick at you. And it caused enough damage. There was a cut on her forehead. They showed a picture of her. I don't think she's suing them. I think they made it right somehow. But that's just a bizarre story and a bizarre week. Yes, I did do that one. Trailer, I'll talk about that second. Wedding stuff, I'll talk about in a second. All right, I'm almost done here. Black Panther. Great movie. just learned this week that one of the Black Panther costumes, probably the one T'Challa was wearing, and the script has been acquired by the Smithsonian Institute. It's probably going to be displayed at the American History Museum. I think that's what it is. The popular, it's one of those museums down there. It's not natural history because that's like animals and shit. But it's been a while since I've been down there. We're going to go down there on our vacation in August for a couple of days, and we're going to Williamsburg. But it has a lot of TV. It has the Fonz's leather jacket. It's got Archie Bunker's chair. They've got a whole bunch of. Now they're going to have a Black Panther costume in the Black Panther script. I think that's fantastic. It's great, and good on that. Sci-Fi is developing a Nightbreed TV show. Nightbreed is one of those movies that, again, is pretty interesting, and to be honest, would probably make a really good TV show because, well, whereas Nightbreed was just a one-off story that Clive Barker wrote and directed about a group of monsters, humanoid-looking monsters who lived underground, who discovered that there was a human who has monster abilities, who's tangling with a serial killer. All that comes together in this this world, and it's a very intriguing world. Now, they've done comic books adaptations of Nightbreed and extensions of Nightbreed, and this just makes the most logical sense that they're going to do a TV show. There's a lot you can do with it because you're talking about a group of monsters, humanoid-looking monsters. One looks like the crescent moon, which is so cool looking, and other type of monsters, and you can do a human thing. And that, while based on a Nightbreed story, and I'm sure Clive Barker will be involved in some form or another, that's not a bad idea. You know, I was talking about not too long ago about coming up with your own ideas. I think that'd be a fun TV show, would be that one. And that might be interesting, and particularly if you're doing it on Sci-Fi, you can get away with some stuff, but not a lot. And it might be more entertaining in that way. And I'm looking forward to that, actually. I might even look that up when they start getting it out. Again, it's just starting at the earliest. It probably won't come out till next year, probably. But the fact is that they're talking about it and they're developing it right now. I think it's a great idea. Speaking of TV shows, this is the one that I was teasing. Could very well be one of the greatest TV shows of all time if done properly, because it is going to be based on one of the greatest comic book stories of all time. And when you get a caliber of actress like Jodie Foster interested in starring in this so-called show, it makes it even better. And the fact that they're going to show it on FX makes it even better. It's a little show called Y: The Last Man. Again, they're just starting development on it. The comic, written by Brian K. Vaughan and Pia Guerrera artwork, was only about, 68, 65 issues. It had a beginning, middle, and end story. And the basic premise was every male creature, men, animals, anything male, died, except for one guy by the name of York, who's your main character, and his capuchin monkey, who's also male. So it becomes a women-centric world. So instead of it being a rollicking good sex farce where a guy's going to try to score, hey, I'm the only guy in a world of 1 million, 3 million, 10 million women, and all of them are going to score with me, it makes it a more realistic look about what if something like this actually happened. There are going to be factions that want to kill this guy. There are going to be factions that, how'd this guy survive? Maybe we can find out, and maybe we can bring back some men or whatever. And yeah, there's going to be that group that's going to say, well, we need to get to repopulate the planet see if we can get more men out of this. So we're going to need his sperm. So you get a little bit of stories of all that, but it is a fascinating examination of an Armageddon apocalyptic style situation and what realistically happens. All wrapped up in a very entertaining storyline. It's grown up, it's adult, it's not silly. It has its funny moments, but it's not a comedy, it's not a sex farce. It's high drama, it's action, it's political, and you get scientific. and you get an idea about what caused it. Unlike a lot of other shows where you don't know what caused these things, you find out what caused. Well, you have a bunch of different ideas about what caused it. I don't think you get a definitive version of what happened, and you get a definitive ending to it. And it's such a great comic book. If you have not read Y the Last Man, I urge everybody out there to go to your local comic book store, or even go to the library. I think the library might even have them. They've got a great selection of graphic novels now at your local libraries. So you can check them out, and read them. As I said, it's only about 65 issues, so it's only going to be about 10 trade paperbacks. Or if you get the compilations, it might only be half that, like 5, and you get like 20 in one of those compilations. I know that makes 100, but I'm just saying, I'm just making a point here. Maybe it's 12. I don't know. Anyway, it's probably 12 because there's about 60 issues. 5. Never mind. Every trade is like 6. You got it. Go to your local library. Go to Amazon. Type in Y the Last Man. See what comes up there. Go to your local comic book store. They might have some, on the shelf. I highly recommend reading Y the Last Man. And if they can get the show off the ground with Jodie Foster involved in it, first of all, I know exactly what role she could play. The mother of Yorick is like a low-level senator in Congress, and when all the men die due to succession, she's president of the United States. So she becomes president of the United States, and she gets a little bit more involved in the story than you think. Now, if you get someone of the caliber of Jodie Foster, this is the type of show where you can expand a little bit in the world. You don't have, as long as you follow the same general logic, you need to get these story arcs fit in there. You need to have this middle, need to have this beginning, middle, and end. You need to do this. You need to get to these points. And there's a lot of stuff in the comics which skips over months at a time to jump to the next big storyline. In this world, and I can, as long as you follow the general rule of the beginning, middle, and end, you can expand the role as much as you want. Now, that's the problem with The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead is still going right now in comic book format. And they veered so far off of the comic book right now that I don't enjoy it that much anymore. And I don't even know where it's going, which I guess is good if you don't know where it's going. But there's some storylines I wanted to see realized on the show, and I'm not going to be able to see it realized the way I want to. I better get $250 million and remake The Walking Dead. Going back to what I talked about earlier. Never mind. So you can open up the TV series a little bit and get some storylines that might not necessarily have been in the comic in order to, if you get a Jodie Foster, to give her a little bit more to do, or put one of her subplots in there as well. So I like that idea. Now, Preacher's doing something similar. They are jumping all over the place. They're not going chronologically like they do in the book. They're jumping all over the place, but they're getting to certain points so you can see that stuff in the books. Now, that doesn't help a lot of people who wanted to see a linear adaptation of it, and they might not like how they're doing that. But I agree, you probably should have done Preacher as a linear one. It makes more sense if you think about it that way. In this case, I hope they do Y the Last Man linear, but you can open it up to do more stories as well. So if they can get this show off the ground with Jodie Foster in it, you can also get her to direct a bunch of episodes as well. That would be amazing too. I say go for it because I think it would be an amazing, amazing series. I lost either Scott or Patrick, so I'm wrapping up, I promise. I'm trying my best. I tease this also. How did humans let's say, humans might have started kissing because they wanted to share chewed up food. Now you got to think about that for a second. You think, ew, that's disgusting. Well, that's because we're modern and that sounds disgusting. But if you go back to early ages, it kind of makes sense. You want to share your chewed up food, and the easiest way to do it is go mouth to mouth. It helps save on food, stuff like that. And you don't know any better. You don't know any different. You don't know that there's a better way to do it. probably grown up that way. You've seen birds do it all the time and other animals do it. So why not you? But then you began to realize, hey, I kind of like this, and that's where kissing comes from. So that's a possibility of that. That's good on that. In the comic book world, July 4th is going to be a big time. Batman and Catwoman are supposed to get married in issue 50. I hope they go through with it. Captain America #1 is coming out. And I think there's another new #1 that's coming out. I can't think of that. But the reason why I brought that up is because I'm going to go into a little spoiler detail. I haven't been reading any X-Men comics. But when I saw that Colossus and Kitty Pryde were going to be getting married, I was like, okay, that's great, because I love those two characters. I like them together, and I want to see a married Kitty Pryde and Colossus. Now, the issue they get married came out this week in comics, so I've been trying to save money on my comics because I've been spending a little too much on it. So I went to the comic book store, and I just looked at the book to see what happened. So I leafed through it and saw that, spoiler alert, that in the end, Colossus and Kitty Pryde dissolve they don't get married. They decide not to get married. And instead, Rogue and Gambit do. I give rat's ass about Rogue and Gambit. I like Colossus and Kitty. And now they're not getting married and they're separated. This is bullshit, and I'm not happy, and I'm glad I'm not reading X-Men. So I didn't buy that issue. I hope they don't pull that shit with Batman and Catwoman, because I'm invested in this relationship now, and they better not break them up. I think it's a great idea, and it's a good way to take Batman in a different direction, because Bruce Wayne is not going to get married to Selina Kyle. It's Batman getting married to Catwoman. It's complicated, but read the comics, you'll understand. So I didn't like that. Speaking of comic books, the best way, I'm not going to do that. I'll do that later. I'm not going to talk about that because nothing really happened there. So I got to cut this down because I'm going to probably be a little bit longer than I'm expecting. But I had a lot to cover, so I've only got a few more to go, so stick with me. I want more people to get comics. That's why I do my comic haul show. I want to get people to go to your local comic book stores, and I want you to go and buy comics and go and read and get excited and do stuff like that. I get my wife to. She does it herself. She sees the comics on the side of the bed that I've already read. She looks at them and she starts reading them, and then she gets hooked on them. And then she gets to read the issues after I'm done with them. So right now, really, the only place you can get comic books right now is you get them at comic book stores, which there are plenty of them around. So you just go to the comic shop locator service, type in your zip code, and it'll send you to. It'll give you where all the comic book stores within like a 20-mile radius of your house. So you go to which one is closest to you or one you like the best. Or you can go to Comixology, where you can download your comics onto your iPad, your computer, your phone, or whatever, and read it that way. You pay the same price you do for a regular comic book, but instead of having a floppy, you're actually looking at it on your computer, iPad, whatever. And it looks pretty good. My friend Gary's done that a few times, and I've looked at it. It's pretty good. So I used to buy stuff at like newsstands, and there's really no newsstands anymore because you get all your news through the internet and through your damn smartphones. I do too, so I really can't be complaining about that. So when I discovered this story that just broke Friday, I guess, Walmart is going to start stocking 100-page giant from DC. Now, 100-page comics have been around in the 60s and had multiple stories by multiple creators and stuff like that. And some of them are some of the best stories you've ever read because they were out in the 60s. But then the price point started to get a little too high, and a lot more of the creative team wanted to get their own series. Instead of having little small snippets of 8-page stories, whatever, they wanted to expand it to full-page stories, or they wanted to work on books that, you know, all the big guys were working on, and not these little dinky ones like that. So the 100-page giant started to die a little bit. So now Walmart is going to be releasing exclusively four 100-page giant DC comics, starting I think next month, actually, July. And one is Superman 100-page giant, one's Batman 100-page giant, Justice League of America 100-page giant, and Teen Titans 100-page giant. But what makes this interesting is you're going to have some reprints of old Superman stories, including ones from the 60s, 80s, 90s, 2000, whatever, old Batman stories, And then Justice League, you'll take a few Justice Leaguers, like you get a Wonder Woman or Hawkman story or Aquaman story, and then you frame it around Justice League stories as well. So you're going to have multiple stories in the comics, and so on and so forth. And you're going to get new stories as well. Good creative teams. Tom King, who's writing Batman right now, and I love his Batman, will be writing a small original Superman story for these 100-page giants. Brian Michael Bendis will be writing a Batman series. And Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Conner, I think, are doing the Justice League ones. They're starting with Wonder Woman, I think, a Wonder Woman short story, and they'll do other stuff as well. So you're going to get those stories as well as reprints for $4.99, 100 pages of comics. Hell yeah, I'm going to go Walmart. I'm going to get these comics. They're going to release like 2 1 week and 2 are going to be released like the first week of the month, and then 2 are going to be released in the 3rd week of the month, and then that's it. And then it happens again next month, and so on and so forth. These creators I just told you about, Bendis, Conner, and Palmiotti, and Tom King, they're all contracted for 12 issues, I think. So they'll be doing a 12-issue story. Again, short story, 8 pages each. In the end, it's going to be about what? 96 pages, 12 times 8, 6, 1. Yeah, about 96-page story. They might even be able to get a couple extra pages in there, so they might get 100 pages eventually of their story. So that's pretty good. And you'll be able to see Brian Michael Bendis' take on Batman, Tom King's take on Superman, and Palmiotti and Conner's take on Wonder Woman, which is phenomenal. So I'm looking forward to those. I think I'm going to start buying those, which is a shame because I've been trying to cut down on comics. But now Walmart's doing this to me. I was like, I got to get these. I'll get it first few. But again, you're also going to be getting a lot of reprints also. But that's also good also because then it'll get you excited about other comics as well. All right, I'm going to try to finish this up before the 2.5-hour mark. I'm almost done though. 2 trailers came out. I talked about Robert Zemeckis last show. This time he's doing a trailer with Steve Carell called Welcome to Marwan, which looks amazing. It's based on a true story about a guy who uses action figures, like G.I. Joe action figures, to create pictures that he puts in museums, and they're gorgeous. They look realistic and stuff like that. And apparently the guy who does, his name is Marwan, it's based on a true story, was beaten up by neo-Nazis. So he's got some like PTSD about it, and that's why he uses this artwork to get over that. But his head is still screwed up a little bit from the attack. So these dolls that he uses start talking to him, and he starts pretending he's part of them. And he's got women defenders, and he's beating up the bad guys. But then his real world intrudes on that as well. It's directed by Robert Zemeckis. It looks wonderful. It looks absolutely Oscar worthy. It looks like a movie I really, really want to see. Steve Carell, you always think of him as being a comedy actor. He can do drama. He's been nominated for Academy Awards for his drama before, and this one is going to be no different. I think Welcome to Marwan is going to be fantastic. And I highly recommend everybody go see it. Check out the trailer. It's on YouTube. Welcome to Marwan, Marwen, and let me know what you think about that. I did not see the first one, but Creed 2 is coming out also. Creed was Michael B. Jordan of Eric Killmonger fame from Black Panther. Played Apollo Creed's son, who wanted to be trained for boxing by a certain boxer by the name of Rocky Balboa, played by Sylvester Stallone. So they made the first one, and it did really well. And so they're making a sequel. I saw the trailer for the sequel because I knew what the storyline was, and it's actually a pretty interesting storyline because the first one was just basically setting up the characters. You know, you got Rocky coming out and training a new student who happens to be one of his friend's sons. Now remember, Apollo Creed was killed in Rocky IV by Ivan Drago, the Russian, played by Dolph Lundgren, was killed in the ring. Guess who Creed's son has to fight in Creed 2? Ivan Drago's son. And Ivan Drago is his trainer, so Dolph Lundgren's in this as well. So you're going to have to face the son of the man who killed your father in a boxing match. that in itself sounds like a great idea for a story. So we'll see what happens. Sylvester Stallone's back, Michael B. Jordan's back, and Ivan Drago himself will be in it as well. Finally, we'll do what movies came out, and then a remembrance of those who died, and then the holidays, and then we'll be taken off. So just bear with me a little longer. Scott or Patrick, I think it's probably Scott. But if it's you, Patrick, thanks for sticking around. 30th anniversary of Roger Rabbit, one of my all-time favorite movies. Speaking of Robert Zemeckis, 30th anniversary, fantastic, great movie. 34th anniversary of The Karate Kid, and the 32nd anniversary of Karate Kid 2. Personally, I like Karate Kid 2 better than The Karate Kid. Apparently, I've heard that the new Cobra Kai show on YouTube Red is excellent. I've read the descriptions on Wikipedia, and it sounds like a really great series, but I'm just not going to pay money to do YouTube Red to see it. So if it comes out on DVD, I'll probably buy it then to watch it. But I liked Karate Kid 2 much better than Karate Kid 1. 38 years ago, The Blues Brothers, another one of my all-time favorite movies, came out. Great film. Watch that. And on my birthday, June 20th, 1975, 43 years ago, Jaws came out. So, and then 20 years ago, X-Files, Fight the Future, and Mulan both came out. So, again, if I had time, I'd talk a little bit more in detail. Hopefully next week's show, I'll be able to talk more in detail about it, whatever comes out this week. Finally, before we get to the holidays, let's do a moment of silence for Coco the gorilla, who knew sign language and loved kittens and absolutely had the biggest crush on Robin Williams. And one of my most favorite videos of all time is Robin Williams visiting Coco and talking with her, and Coco basically flirting with him. It is the cutest thing ever because he's got the hairy chest, and so on and so forth. She lived a long life. She was 45 years old in gorilla years. That's a long time. So basically, she's the same age as I am, but she was a gorilla. She knew sign language, which was a plus because it gave us a way to communicate with animals, and she loved kittens. I feel bad and sad, but she lived a long life and was very, very good. So, Coco, we love you. It's Scotty. I knew it was Scotty. Batman 89 came out on June 23rd, and it was the first movie I remember seeing at the theater. Yeah, that's right. I forgot that one. So that came out this week as well. I don't think I wrote that one down, even though I should have. So what was the 89? That would be 31 years ago. So, all right. Thank you, Scott. And thanks for still watching. I promise I'm almost done. Give me about 10 more minutes. It'll be a 2.5-hour show. But it was 2 episodes, so it's double-sized. Finally, let's talk about Amy Figaro just real quick. I'm not really going to rehash what I already discussed. I spent a whole episode just talking about Amy last year as a eulogy for her. We had a bunch of people over, Stardust, Consweet Khan, Will Fish. We all had a wonderful time and a wonderful memory of Amy. And while they were partying down, not partying, while they were eulogizing downstairs, I was eulogizing on my show in an episode that I will re-air or repost tomorrow, which detailed Amy's life and all the hardships she had to deal with. Just a real quick, she died really young. She was in her early 30s, I think. Her and her fiance, Patrick, had just had one of the hardest pregnancies ever. Their son, Luke, who I call Cage, was born with a heart condition. He could have very well died. He had numerous operations as a newborn, had to spend months in rehab and in NICUs and stuff like that to be taken care of. And there was no guarantee that he was going to survive, but Cage was a fighter. He survived. And Amy and Patrick were able to have a little bit of bliss with their son. He was special needs because of his heart problem, and he has a big scar on there that's never going to go away, and he'll probably be self-conscious about it. But Amy and Patrick were great parents, and then Amy passed away quietly. I don't know if they've ever revealed how she died. I don't think Patrick has, and I don't think I want to go ask him. leaving Patrick to have to take care of their newborn alone, and Amy not having the opportunity to see her son, who had so much fight in him to survive, that she did not outlive her son. She wasn't supposed to, but she wasn't supposed to die this young either. Patrick posted a picture recently of Cage. He looks healthy. He looks happy. He's adorable. Patrick seems to be doing okay. And most importantly, Cage seems to be blossoming. And I know Amy's watching them closely. It's not fair. But I hate to say it, there's a reason for everything. Stuff happens for a reason. Believe it religiously, believe it spiritually, whatever. I have to believe that there is a reason that she was taken so young from her son, who fought so hard to live, only to lose his mom, who he will never probably remember. But we're going to try to make sure he does. And I know Patrick is going to make sure that he remembers who his mom was. Cage looks good. Patrick looks okay. And we can't be more happy than that. Here's you, Amy, 1 year. We miss you deeply. Finally, as we end all solo episodes, let's take a look at some holidays. The reason why I'm wearing this shirt is because today is National Flamingo Day. There's a story behind flamingos for me. I'm not going to get into it today because I don't have time. But here we go. Check Eye Day. And then I promise you, Scott, we're going to get out of here. All right, check Eye Day. In 4 minutes, let's see if I can do this in 4 minutes. All right. June 24th. Is that today? 21st? No, 23rd is today. 23rd is Flamingo Day. 23rd is Global Smurfs Day, Great American Campout, International Widows Day, Let It Go Day, National Pecan Sandies Day, National Pink Day, Pink Flamingo Day, Public Service Day, Runner Selfie Day, SAT Math Day, Typewriting Day. The 22nd, which was Friday, was National Chocolate Eclair Day, Onion Rings Day, Stupid Guy Thing Day, Take Your Dog to Work Day. 21st was Anna Samantha Day, Atheist Solidarity Day, Cuckoo Warning Day, Go Skateboarding Day, International Day of Yoga, International Surfing Day, National Daylight Appreciation Day, National Dump the Pump Day, National Peaches and Cream Day, National Seashell Day, National Selfie Day, Recess at Work Day, First Day of Summer, Longest Day, World Giraffe Day, World Handshake Day, World Humanist Day, World Music Day, World Peace and Prayer Day. My birthday, June 20th, was American Eagle Day, National Ice Cream Soda Day, National Vanilla Milkshake Day, New Identity Day, Plain Yogurt Day, Toad Hollow Day of Thank You, World Productivity Day, World Refugee Day. Tomorrow, the 24th, Sunday, June 24th, is going to be World UFO Day. Fantastic. Swim a Lap Day, National Pralines Day, Museums Come to Life Day, Log Cabin Day, International Fairy Day, Descendants Day, Celebration of the Senses Day, and America's Kids Day. So, that's what we got there. It's time to say goodbye. 2.5 hours. I got 2 episodes in. We're going to get back on track hopefully next week. So come back and watch that. Scott, thank you for watching all the way through. Patrick, thank you for watching the majority of this episode. I truly appreciate it. I appreciate both of you. We even got 2 more people in there at one time. 3. We had up to 4 people at one time. Don't know who they were, but they popped out. Regardless, thank you guys for watching. I try my best to do this show. I keep doing this show because it's entertaining, and hopefully I entertained you today. Again, thank you for watching. Next week will probably be another solo show, and then probably in July we'll get back to, I'll do a MJ Conde episode. I got to do a Patrick Smith Day down the line, and hopefully I'm going to get Bronwyn on here. So watch Bronwyn's Ladies of Valhalla podcast, not watch it, listen to it. Go to your local comic book store, check out some Why the Last Man stuff. Enjoy your first weekend of summer. July 4th is 10 days away. So happy Independence Day, America, coming up. I'll be doing an Independence Day episode probably on Independence Day. I always tend to do that as tradition, and I usually get my best ratings on that for whatever reason. So on that note, I'm going to say goodbye. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for sticking with me. 2 episodes. I did it. I don't ever want to do it again. Not one night. Bye, guys. Don't forget to drink your pee.